is. First official bang on the hammer. I'd like to call us to order. What do? We start here with the Pledge of Allegiance and
No.
we skipped that.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, there we have it.
There you go.
Shows what I know. Okay, well then we'll start with public comment, please.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Well, okay, I guess that concludes the public
Is there
comment.
anybody online?
There's a few people online. If you're joining us
Good
online,
point.
you can unmute
Online people. I see the mayor. Mr. Picture.
Hello, this is Brian Fuentes.
Hi, Brian.
I'm sorry I couldn't make it today. I'm still down and out with being ill, but I'm here.
We wish you the best.
Is for record keeping purposes, is Counselor Kress on the call or connected?
Isn't he on vacation?
He is.
He is
was
in
gonna-
Florida.
He was going to try to,
Oh, okay.
no indication he's there?
No.
Okay. Move on into,
Okay, well, then I guess acknowledge we had an executive session just prior to this meeting to go over some contractual issues and some, as such. I'd like to then move forward to the consent agenda, item 3, with the minutes, the finance report, the York Adams tax collection. Please.
Scott, can you read the acknowledgement of the executive session with the different parts of the Sunshine Act?
Is it?
Oh, go ahead. What am I?
Where?
That's written here. I apologize.
Sorry.
The executive session was held this evening, January 19th at 6:15, involving the following matters under the corresponding sections of the Sunshine Act. 1, litigation matters regarding Crape versus Borough of Hanover and Yellow versus Hanover Zoning Hearing Board, Section 08A4 and A5. Secondly, collective bargaining matters for the fire union, Section 708A2 and A5. And lastly, 213 Primrose LLC versus Borough of Hanover. Dory,
Thank
is
you.
that good? Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
I appreciate my coaches here. Okay, then I believe that brings us to the consent agenda,
yes, it's all right.
So
correct? Okay. We have item 3, consent agenda, letter A through E, minutes, finance reports, York Adams Tax Collection Bureau, tax exonerations, and the library board reappointments. Can I have a motion
So moved.
to approve that and a second?
Second.
Thank you. And anyone against? Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Scott, can we ask Councilor Fuentes to?
Aye.
Okay.
Brian?
Thank you.
Thank you. What does that bring us to as a total?
9, because
9?
Chris is not here.
Okay, thank you. Chris, you mean Tim?
Tim.
Sorry.
Tim's not here.
You lost me for a moment there. Okay, so that takes us to presentations and interviews. We'll start with Main Street Hanover with the Chamber and the Main Street representatives. I would ask them to come forward, introduce yourselves.
It's here. Anybody else?
In the odd occasion, we don't happen to already know you, right?
Yeah, well, my name's Gary Laird. I'm president of the Hanover Chamber of Commerce, and I'm currently the chair of the Main Street Hanover Board, and I've been involved with Main Street since the very beginning, and I know a few of you have as well. So, Nikki?
Nikki Hoffman. I'm with Stanball Nest, but the treasurer of Main Street Hanover. I'm also a board member of the Hanover Chamber, and I too have been with Main Street from the beginning.
And we have a number of our board members with us this evening, and of course our executive director, Justine Truxas, and I think we have a few board members even tuning in by Zoom. So, but thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share some information with you this evening that I think will help everyone across the community appreciate the value and that Main Street brings to the community, certainly to our downtown core. For those of you who have been around since the very beginning, the Chamber back in 2008 formed a committee to really begin evaluating what it would take to begin to create a revitalization plan for our downtown. We started with some visiting sessions. We worked with the Pennsylvania Downtown Center. For those of you who were around at that time, you know that we had some good, really solid destination businesses in our downtown, like Clark's and Hanover Clothing and a few other shops. But for the most part, you know, we had a lot of vacant buildings, and we had a number of buildings that were on the verge of becoming blighted. We had identified at that time a number of different anchor buildings, which included the theater, 34 Frederick Street, the old Montgomery Ward building, the old Moose building, which is now Something Wicked, Chestnut and Railroad Street, the old car dealership, which is now under construction, as well as the McAllister Hotel. So a number of those properties were identified as properties at risk and of major concern to the community. We tried to figure out the best way to approach it. We did a lot of work and research on the National Main Street model, decided to adopt that model because a lot of other successful communities have done that. So we pulled our organization together, filed our papers, applied for 501c3 status, and received that in around a 2013-2014 timeframe. In 2018, we became accredited by the National Main Street Organization, which is which is really key because it's an evaluation. You have to meet certain criteria to receive that accreditation, and we were very pleased to have received that, and we've received it, I think, every year since then. So this has been sort of a slow drip for our community in our downtown, right? But I think we're beginning to see the momentum that has occurred. Main Street has pulled together a number of events. They have kind of united the merchants and worked very closely with them. And then we've always said that we know we've arrived when we begin to see investment from outside the community into our downtown. And we're beginning to see that. And we're beginning to see the real estate redevelopment. And those are some key things. And we just need to make sure that we stay focused on our plan and continue to move forward and carry that momentum into the future. With that, I'm going to hand off to Nikki and have her go through some of the numbers with you.
Yeah, so in your packet there, you'll see there's a page in there, I think it might be the third page, says revenue generation. So what we did is we took a look at what are the dollars that came to the downtown as a result of Main Street Hanover. So we've got a couple of numbers on there, and just to speak to each one of those. So since 2015, the Main Street Hanover program has brought roughly $1.6 million in grants to the downtown area. And also in your packet, back in Appendix B or Appendix A, there is detail of what those grants were. So the largest being, one of the most recent ones was the RACP grant for 34 Frederick Street of $1.4 million. Not only has Main Street received some of those grants, but the borough itself has received those grants, as well as a couple private developers have received those grants as well. The two other numbers on that page, the $60,000 and the $50,000, is what we are estimating to be additional revenues coming into the downtown based on events that we have held in the downtown. The one being the ticketed events such as the sip and strolls and things like that. And then the other one were our non-ticketed events, just activities that we had downtown. And what we did is we estimated the number of individuals coming to the downtown. Now, the ticketed ones were a little easier because we had ticket sales, but we estimated anywhere from $10 to $15 those individuals were spending in the downtown at the local businesses, restaurants, things like that. So
That's in addition to their whatever ticket revenue there was.
exactly. So, and that's just what we're estimating the day of the event. That doesn't include any, repeat customers. So they come to the downtown, they see how great, the restaurants are, the stores are, and they come back. So that doesn't include that because it's really hard to determine that. It also doesn't include, the new businesses that came to town that maybe are now employing more individuals. So there's local income tax being paid, there's business privilege tax being paid, and also even real estate tax being paid, which we'll talk about in the next page. So what we did at the bottom of that page is took a look at the return on investment. So the borough has been kind enough to be one of our partners, providing us partner funding over the past 5 years, and that's been roughly about $200,000. And if we take that over what that revenue has come into the downtown, for every dollar that the borough has put into Main Street Hanover, we've returned $8.50. So about an 8 times return. So if you look at other main streets, we did some searching on that. Other main streets are anywhere from $3 up to, I think, $11. So we're right around the middle, if not a little bit more. And again, that doesn't include some of the things that we can't really put our hands around and calculate. So,
And when does that take you up to? What's the date of that? What, that $1 of $8.50 year 2000? What?
this is for 5 years.
5 years.
So the
Okay.
past 5 years.
All right, thank you.
Yep. So then, like I said, in your appendix, there were some grants, and also in the appendix, we listed out the various events and the number of individuals that, one, we can estimate were here, as well as those that we had ticketed sales, so we could easily tell how many people were here. So then in the next page of your packet is a case study. So, Gary mentioned the McAllister property was one of those properties that we identified as needing some improvement. So we have the case study there. So 11 York Street, we actually, I guess the borough, not we, but gave them the 10-year LRTA, which, as most of you know, is the tax incentive for them to come downtown, and then each year their real estate tax that they pay increases. And what we were able to find out is, at the beginning of this, before the investment property, was being worked on, the borough was getting $0. The school district was getting $0. But now that improvement has been made, between the borough and the school district, they're getting roughly $44,000 in real estate taxes and school taxes. So, and that's just 1 year.
So that's the original rate. What you're saying, my recollection is they paid nothing.
Correct.
They owed, but they paid nothing. Mr. Frederick Seary could probably confirm this. So now that they're paying back to whatever the base assessment was. to the
Right, and
building.
actually probably even more because now it's more improved, and I forget what the
Well,
value was.
10% of it grows.
Correct.
If my recollection is correct, it grows by 10% every year until it gets back to the full taxable amount of the improved building, including the improvements, correct?
Correct. And this is just one building, so this is just one example. So, Gary talked about a lot of other properties, so if we continue that, that's just bringing more dollars in to the community as far as tax dollars goes. Any other questions on that page before I turn it back over to Gary?
Should we talk about this now?
Oh, yeah. Up at the top there, we talk about, the McAllister, just a little bit more detail there. There are 30 units in that building that's being rented. Those individuals were estimating about $60,000 average income, which means about 1.8 in what we call walkable wallets. So you've got 30 units, the 60,000, that's about 1.8. So for them to come downtown, walk around, spend their money in the downtown, and even just in the Hanover Borough altogether, not necessarily the downtown, so.
Well, don't forget, too, there's the earned income tax that those people pay because they live in the borough, and it's 1% of their earned income, and if I remember, it's split evenly between the school district and the borough. So,
Yeah.
or before, I would say that's pretty reliably close to nothing. So.
I like your term walkable wallets. I want more of those.
I'll give Gary credit for
Yes.
that. That's Gary's term.
I like
Well,
that.
it is not Gary's term. Gary picked it up. I steal where I can too. So it's, but I liked it as well.
Walking around money, yeah.
It is, and you know,
It's a
when you
lot.
stop to think that
My wallet's walking away.
that income
where's my
was
wallet?
not there
Right.
3 years ago,
No.
and it is now. And you know, those folks come home at night, walk around town, spend money. So I think, you know, as that's what we wanted. We wanted more disposable income in our downtown, and we're beginning to see that transition occur. I think if you've obviously seen 34, Plaza 34, you're going to have the same effect
Right.
and impact there as well. So just looking over it, what lies ahead for us, I think a lot of the same types of activities that we've been engaged with in the past, we are going to continue to carry forward. We have our history walking trail that we're going to continue to develop. We have markers yet to install. We have the wayfinding signage that we're going to be working at, the Trails Town program, Art Alley, Bank Lane has, you know, kind of taken on its own, its own story in terms of the brew pubs in the area wanting to utilize that space. So we have the Hometown Hero banner coming into year 3. So there's just a lot of different activities that we're going to continue to carry forward. The Chamber continues to work very closely with Main Street through our Discover Hanover initiatives in promoting the downtown to try and get destination tourist weekend, people who are looking for weekend trips to come into the area. So collectively between Discover Hanover and the activities that Main Street undertakes, we think we have a pretty good story to tell. We think we have a lot of great momentum, and we think there's a great opportunity to continue to build and grow upon that. So we wanted to take this time because we think it's important. It's easy to look at a year or two, right? But I think when you look at the progress that's been made over a 5-year period, it's pretty interesting. So we wanted to just share that with you tonight. And if anyone has any questions, we would certainly be happy to answer.
With your events, I know it's probably hard to track and you might not be doing it, so I'm not being critical, but just curious as to your mission or your philosophy. Are you trying to target audiences, say, outside the borough to bring them in to see it, or current residents who just need to get out of their house more? Are you separating?
I would say, and I'd kind of look to Justine to help me with this, but I think initially it was about getting people in downtown, period, right? And so bring them in, get them into the stores. Justine and Lauren have done a wonderful job over the years of working with the merchants to open their doors the day of those events to get people inside. And I think that comes back to the point that Nikki makes that, you know, we want them to come back, and that's not measurable. I think one of the things that we should begin to look at now, and I know Justine has done this, is so we get people in, you know, for the events for the first 3, 4, 5 years.
Yep.
Now, how do we leverage that?
Translate that into ownership.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So what's next?
So we'll always still have the opportunity to bring people within, say, that 50, 60-mile radius in for a weekend.
Yeah.
But how can we continue to capitalize and grow upon what we've already accomplished and take that to the next level with even locals, right?
That's what I was just envisioning, that some of your events are very popular, well-attended, and very well-liked by the locals, and they bring in a certain outside of Hanover audience. So you want to imagine balancing those two as you grow things might be an interesting challenge, but it sounds like you've got it covered.
I think too, the business that you have, other businesses are benefiting. I forget the name of that place on York Street, has the bubbles out front. What's that place?
Sea Gypsy.
Sea Gypsy, right,
Yeah.
yeah. Somehow it's my granddaughter's favorite place. We have to go there all the time. So they know me well. But they've said that their business has really picked up substantially just with the McAllister. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just one thing that, one business there on York Street that's benefiting, and there are hopes some more businesses will come in that street too.
Right.
So you'll see businesses get more money.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And I think that's a good point, Barb, because, you know, the Chamber's relocated to 40 York Street, so we're on York Street every
Right.
day now. And I can tell you that I'll go out, like tonight even, on the way down here, there's streets, or there's cars on both sides of York Street that you didn't see before.
Right.
You know, and they're there really because of the McAllister, the restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah, before it was pretty much, I don't know, in my experience, it was Carlisle Street.
Right.
And now it seems to have spread out to
Right.
Frederick and to York Street at a minimum.
Right.
One thing we have now, we didn't have before, is choice. Before it was hot dog or pizza. Now we can get that, but we have other choices.
More than
too.
that.
Well, it was Subway, come on.
Oh, I forgot.
Some really good hot dogs here.
It's good to have choice.
Thank you, thank you.
Right.
Excuse me, this is Mayor Whitman. I was just wondering, while they're there, is there any kind of update on what's going on with the storyboards?
Yeah, the wayfinding markers.
Yes.
Did you want
Is that the same
speak to
thing?
that? I'll ask Justine to speak to that because she's been working directly on it.
Mayor Whitman, you mean the historic marker storyboards?
Yes.
Yes. So having been on maternity leave, I just got back and I've been working with Hopewell Manufacturing. They will be installing those as soon as they are able. So we've received the majority of the permissions from the property owners to do the install. We're just now waiting for the installer to come and do that piece of it. Public Works has done a really great job removing all the old markers, and so we're just waiting for Hopewell to come and do the install.
Okay. And do you know, will there be any, where would someone go? I mean, obviously they could go on maybe Main Street's website to find like a whole map if somebody wanted to walk the whole thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So Main Street Hanover has produced a brochure that contains a map of each of the historic markers, and we will be encouraging folks to visit our website or to pick up a printed brochure. So as soon as everything is installed in the ground, we'll start to produce those brochures and get them disseminated to the community. The other way that people would find us is through our partnership with Civil War Trails. That's a national organization. We're included on their Gettysburg campaign map. So now if you are traveling throughout Maryland and Gettysburg, you will know that Hanover has historic markers. And we have a little, we partner with them. We pay into their membership to get marketing value with them. So anytime they do Gettysburg campaign marketing, they talk about Hanover being a stop that you can travel to learn about the Battle of Gettysburg and how that impacted the Civil War.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Justine.
Thank you.
Are there any other discussions on,
Darlene had a question.
go ahead.
Just curious, because we're talking about rentals now in the downtown, and we plan to have rentals on Frederick, correct? Has it been a success for McAllister? Are they finding the rental property to be a success downtown?
They have 30 units that
Right.
they have continued to have fully occupied since they opened.
Okay,
Now,
thank you.
they've had people move in and out, but to my knowledge, every unit has been occupied since they opened their doors. From what I understand as well, Plaza 34 is having that same type of experience. I don't know that they're 100% occupied yet, but there have been many commitments made to that property as well. So I think, again, the market is there for this type of professional housing in our downtown. And it complements and creates a very nice balance with a lot of the other housing that we do have now.
Thank you for an answer to my question.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any
Yes.
discussion on the retail space at 34?
I have not heard anything recently.
I haven't either, no.
If I may ask Eric Maines, our engineering director, the permitting as it pertains to 34 Frederick and the residential space, they're all good to go?
Yeah,
Everything's
they
approved
have,
and
they have a temporary occupancy right now while they wrap up a couple loose ends, but nothing that's of a life safety nature or anything like that. So we did issue a temporary use and occupancy. They are in it and all up to speed as far as their permitting is concerned.
perfect, thank you.
Question?
All right.
The parking for those, is there an issue with parking there on Frederick Street when those people start to come in? And is there an issue with parking just overall in the downtown area, even with the McAllister and on York Street there?
Yeah, so I'll give you my answer, and then, I know Eric's doing some work on a study, so he has a lot of, he's collected a lot of data, and I think a lot of opinions along the way as well. I'll share my perspective, and again, this goes back to a number of years, and mine is not really data-based, but strictly more of a visual and experience-based. And I remember on a Friday night in downtown when you could go to the PNC parking lot and park just about anywhere you wanted to. It's tough to do that on a Tuesday or Wednesday night now, okay? When you look at, and I know over the years we've looked at parking, and per capita we've always said, well, there's enough parking spaces based on the activity that we currently experience in our downtown. I think you've seen a significant change in that over the last 3 to 4 years. And I think the concern is we have parking and we may have available spots, but it's not always easily accessible. And it's time that we reevaluate that whole experience. I mean, if you go to the PNC lot on a Friday, Thursday through Friday, you can't. It's tough to find a space.
It is.
And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing, because I think that tells a story in of itself. So, do we have a parking issue? I would say yes. I think most people would agree with that. What is a good solution? I think Eric is evaluating those solutions now. I think that, too, if we're able to continue to move the theater project forward, it is going to be, we need to have a parking plan, and we need to be able to address how we move that project forward, because it probably will not happen without some type of a parking garage or a parking, facility.
Yeah, was there any or a thought about soliciting someone who does that, like a business to come in, and they would, like, not we would fund it, but solicit a business to come in and say, hey, would you be interested in doing this in our downtown? And you?
Yeah, and without belaboring council too much, because I could go on for an hour.
I just wanted to put it out there.
The idea of a privatization of that is certainly a topic. It is one that your Economic Development Corporation, your newly formed HEDC, is actually actively taking up and discussing. They recognize that parking is an issue. It is rated as HEDC's #1 priority as far as things they are looking at, for a lot of the reasons that Gary mentioned. My department has been working with the Public Works Department to address parking and really modernizing the parking experience. That's part of the problem. Some of what Gary has mentioned with parking being not available is because when you have parking that is at such a low rate, it just promotes you sitting on that spot, and there's no real incentive to move your vehicle away, to allow others to come in and spend their money at other businesses. So we need to look at those things in a way that doesn't damage the businesses, but can actually encourage some things. And Gary has been helping me along the way get some of the local opinions and things, and we're trying to blend it all together to do the best we can do with it.
Oh, well, that's good news.
Anything else?
Thank you
All right.
very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Main Street. All right. The next would be the Fire Commission. We'd have Chief Klauscher and Mr. Elsner. Welcome.
Now I can see. So I asked Manager Dunford to be on the agenda for just a brief introduction. We've got some new council people on that may or may not understand the Fire Commission. So I thought I'd take an opportunity to just kind of give a high-level view of the Fire Commission, its history, and then answer any questions you might have. So the very first meeting that was held between Hanover and Penn to discuss a joint services was held in December of 2013, and that was almost 2 years after Jim Roth, who was the fire commissioner of the Borough of Hanover, retired. He retired on April 29th, 2011. And as soon as he retired, there was an agreement in place between Hanover Borough and Penn Township to share the fire chief, which was Penn Township's fire chief. So during the course of these discussions, which started back with Manager Barb Krebs and Sylvia Yingling, and Councilor Gerken. So it's been a long time since this actually got started. As they progressed through the next several years of meeting and trying to come up with a way to develop this commission, in August of 2015, they hired the deputy chief, which was myself, from the Hanover side. And then finally, the Fire Commission held its first organizational meeting in January of 2017. We answered our first call as Hanover Area Fire and Rescue on January 1st of 2018. And on February 2nd, we answered our first call as Station 79. And that was the apartment complex fire in the 300 block of East Walnut Street, where we had about 22, 23 people displaced. So along with that, we brought our volunteers along. Now, early on, the volunteers consisted of Hanover Fire Company number 1, Eagle Fire Company number 2, and Clearview Fire Company number 3 in the borough. And then Penn Township had Parkville Fire Company, Pennville Fire Company, Grangeville Fire Company, and the ambulance. The company, Hanover Fire Company number 1, ran the ambulance for the borough. Over the course of the years, Hanover Fire Company number 1 lost their agreement to provide service to the borough, and Grangeville lost their agreement to provide service to Penn Township. In late 2007...
But can I ask why they would have lost it? Is it
disagreements with the municipalities at the time? I don't know the particulars.
Okay,
that's the best I can tell you.
No,
in all
I was
honesty.
just curious.
So around the end of 2007, Parkville Fire Company, Pennville, and Penn Township Ambulance, and the scuba team, and the fire police unit. The fire police unit was actually a organized unit with a separate charter. They all merged together to create Penn Township Volunteer Emergency Services, which we call PTVES. As the merger or the consolidation came together with the Fire Commission, which was created through an intermunicipal agreement between both municipalities, the PTVS, Eagle Fire Company, Clearview Fire Company started working on a merger, and last year, a year and a half ago, became Hanover Area Volunteer Fire and Rescue. So now we've got one career side or division that oversees everything in our volunteer component. Our volunteers give us access to state funding through Relief Association. So in June of 2019, we took over the employment of our EMS providers. And then in April of this year, or beginning of April this year, the commission started to bill for the ambulance as Hanover Area Fire and Rescue. Prior to that, it was billed as Penn Township Volunteer Emergency Services. And we talked about some of the mailings that you get, the subscriptions you get. So, just a quick highlight. When we did do the merger or create Hanover Area Fire Rescue. We operate out of 3 buildings. Station 1 is the Work Park Fire Station down on Franklin Street. That was built in 1981, so that's 40 years old. Station 2 is the Clover Lane Fire Station, which I said was built in 2008. So that's 13 years old. And my favorite, the Clearview Fire Station out North George Street, was built the year I was born, 1966, so it's 55 years old. And it was built to resemble a house, so it fit into the neighborhood. And it still kind of does, because people don't know where it's at sometimes. So monthly, I attend the Public Safety Committee meeting for Penn Township. That meeting is attended by all 5 commissioners. I asked the Fire Commission, and they approved, that I come to the borough and ask to attend a meeting for the borough. In Penn, I'm actually on the agenda. I was thinking that this meeting would be the meeting to do that because we get the most council people at that meeting. My report would be a highlight of what occurred that month, and that's about it. 2 or 3 minute dissertation, maybe a little bit more, just to keep everybody up to speed, keep things transparent, keep everybody informed. So at this point, the commission itself is made up of 2 representatives of the borough, as you know, which is Council President Ehrhart and Councilor Lockard. Penn Township has 2 commissioners on it, Commissioner Mike Brown and Commissioner Jan Cromer. Our volunteers have a stake. They are stakeholders in the organization. They also have 2 representatives. So that's 6. And then we have our business leader or resident at large, who currently serves as our chairman, who's our tie-breaking vote for the most part. Fortunately, we haven't had any issues like that. So that's about all I have. I didn't want to take up a whole lot of your time because I know you've got a long agenda, but we're happy to answer any questions you might have. And I'll make myself available via email to any of the council people that have any questions at a later date.
Anyone have any questions for the chief? Comments? I mean, I thank you both for coming.
One more note. At the last meeting that I was at, when we talked about the business manager position, that job description was reviewed by our finance committee, our personnel committee. They have agreed to move it forward. It's on the agenda tomorrow night's fire commission meeting to be approved by the full board. If it is approved, then it'll be disseminated to commissioners and councilors alike, if there's any interest in seeing it.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Elster, do you have anything?
No, I was brought in to help grab the 3 different groups and combine them to be one cohesive group. And we are trying to become that cohesive group. And it's frustrating that we don't all see eye to eye. And part of us coming here tonight was so that we can explain to the Hanover Borough that please trust the people you put in charge to come to the meetings that we attend. It takes so much longer when you don't allow them to make decisions, but they have to come back and then get 10 more people's approval to do whatever you've already given them permission to move upon. Certainly, you should be kept in the loop of what happens, but it's going to take forever if you don't trust the people you've put in that position to make those decisions. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next page. All right. Category 5A, Fire Commission Study. Nan, would you take charge on that, please?
This is a study that council authorized, and it includes 3 parts: a finance study, a legal study, and a fire operations study. And we looked at proposers that throughout the state, and the best one was the Pennsylvania Economy League. We have a 50% grant for this, so we were looking for a motion to award a contract to the Pennsylvania Economy League at a cost not to exceed $80,000.
Can I have a motion to approve that, please?
So motion.
And a second?
Second that.
All right, any discussion?
Second, Brian.
Brian? Sue Ann?
And
Okay.
you did say that you did mention it was half 50% funded by
Right.
the grant. Okay.
Right. I want to add one thing. I did forget to tell you. In order to fully fund it, we will be deferring 2 projects to a following year that were already approved. One of those was with regard to septic hauling at the wastewater plant, and the second is with regard to waste energy. So those 2 projects, which we had discussed at the Water and Sewer Committee, will be pushed to a future year because this project takes priority.
Okay. I mean, I will say Nan had organized a meeting, which Commissioner Lockhart and I sat through Friday, and I learned quite a bit from it. I'd like to ask that the gist of the sentence, if you will, or maybe it was more the run-on sentence that I sent to you, be included in it, that we get an actionable plan that comes from that. That being said, I'd like to take a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And with that, I guess the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Yes, and Brian?
Did you get my, aye.
Aye?
Did you get my,
Okay.
We got you.
all right.
We were looking for a smoke signal there, Brian. Okay. Next on the point B, the committee appointments. Bill, do you want to move forward with that this evening, or do we want to kick that back?
I want to move forward with that. Manager
Okay.
Dunford is helping me through Amy's help too.
Perfect.
We've got it in print for you to look at.
I certainly will. So I'm providing you with 2 documents. One is President Reaphart's recommended council committee appointments and chairs. Under the Borough Code, the council president makes these appointments subject to Borough Council's approval. Second document is, and you've seen something similar to this before, and if you've been on council before, is a description of what each committee does. So the only one that has changed is the Economic Development Committee. The change in that is that before, the Economic Development Committee did much of what the new corporation does now, which is discuss economic development projects and make them happen. The new corporation has more ability to get that done. So the new Economic Development Committee will be the sounding board for the Hanover Economic Development Corporation, so that they can get council input. Do you have one, Mr. Hegberg?
No, I got it now.
Are we missing anybody?
Well, I guess only Brian.
Yeah.
Here, Brian.
Thank you, Scott.
You'll want a correction on number 2 for the Governance and Policy Committee. They're meeting every month.
Oh, that's right. This is an old document. I'm sorry. So this is an old document that says that the Governance Committee meets every other month. Mr. Ehrhart has asked that it meet every month to the extent that it has business. So that there is a change.
And that'll be corrected. Okay, thank you.
And again, to Dan's point, it's scheduled every month, and if we have no agenda, then we just,
Correct.
Is that also true of the safety committee?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'll be talking with each of you about the committees, and I think attached to this document, yes, is something that looks like this, which is a
Okay.
chart of the primary projects that we are carrying forward for each committee.
So the intention is to introduce it tonight, and if we can have your acceptance to move it forward, the plan would be to have council officially adopt it under the council agenda next week. So there are opportunity to peruse through it at your leisure over the next week.
so then can I get a motion to accept the preliminary version of this?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
All right. Any comments? All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you.
Here's my late eye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
And if possible, can you get these documents to me so I can take a look at them here?
Yes.
Yeah, we made a note to get you one as fast as we can.
All right, thank you, sir.
Right, we need to get one to Tim, too.
Yep.
Okay. And
All right. Dan, you were, any? Okay. Next, to advertise the ordinance for 2022 appropriations to Main Street. We'll vote to advertise an ordinance to appropriate the funds for the budget to fund our portion of Main Street.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Second. Comments? All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Brian, thank you. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. The next is for iWork, the zoning software module requested by our engineering director. Eric, would you like to speak about this?
Just very briefly, so this borough operates the iWork platform for your code enforcement as well as your building permits. It's a cloud-based solution. One of the things that the recently hired permit director who is assisting in my department has identified is that we do actually need to split our building and zoning permits into separate permits. Currently, we have sort of a hybrid combined permit that is a building/zoning. And by UCC and certain other legal requirements, that's not something we should continue to do. And so we're looking to actually separate them away, and approving this additional module to our platform will allow us to have a separate way to track zoning permits away from the building permits so that we have accountability on both sides.
Okay.
I'd like to make the motion to authorize the purchase not to exceed $3,000.
Second.
Second.
Any comment? I'd like to make a couple comments since I always have something to say about everything. I would say, though, that Eric, this whole package, if you will, that you've implemented, including the dissemination of the minutes and the agendas and so on and so forth, I think has been a tremendous improvement to what's going on, because you get the stuff automatically and you can go back and look it up. And even when you apply for permits for things such as I do, it works extremely well. And there's a kind of an automated dialogue, if you will, that goes back and forth. So I think it's for $3,000. Not that that's a pittance, but I think it's money very well spent.
And Mr. Miller, too, to his credit, is actually finding ways to actually take the experience and even improve it further, because where he came from, they had iWork deployed there. And so he's able to come in here and not just start from scratch, but actually start and say, well, we did this, we did that, or this didn't work, and kind of change things around. So we're already improving the system, and this approval certainly allows us to continue in that direction.
Outstanding. Thank you. Can I get a vote of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Brian. Those opposed? All right, motion carries. The next is E, fee resolution. to amend to include a $400 fee for property maintenance code appeals hearing. Can we get a little?
This came to mind because we hired a very professional codes and building official, and know that there are likely to be more appeals to his decisions. So to be consistent with the rest of our hearing fees, we're creating a $400 fee for a property maintenance code appeals hearing in case this comes up, that we have an appeal of one of his decisions. So that's why it's there, just to be consistent with every other kind of hearing that we have. Because there's significant costs for to have these hearings, advertising and sometimes stenographers.
There's no cost right now at the moment?
No, we haven't had, we expect to have them in going forward, these types of hearings, but we haven't had hearings.
Oh, you haven't even had the...
No, because we haven't had an active building
And it's
program.
only on appeals?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Bill did.
Bill.
I'm sorry. President Rico. Okay. Those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Brian. Those opposed? All right. Motion carries. Thank you, Nan. All right. Item 6. Do we have this in our budget, the sale of this firewood?
It's going to go into our budget.
This income, wow. Okay, item A, it's the firewood sale to Black Rock landfill site. How does this go about? I guess we have bids on it, or?
So earlier today, we received bids as a result of an advertisement. So we put out an advertisement and solicited bids for the sale of the firewood from the Black Rock landfill facility. We've received 2 of those. The one of those bids is for both lots in the amount of $750. It does represent the higher of the 2 submitted bids. So council's decision at this point is whether you choose to award that or whether you would like to in some way try to get more value out of it, I guess.
And the bidder, the leading bidder would be responsible to remove it all and clean
It
up
has to be
whatever.
removed. The contract has a preset amount of time in which it has to be removed from the site completely. There are stipulations on that.
Is there, I guess, can I get a motion to move forward with that? What's the
So motion.
proper procedure? All right?
Second.
Second?
Sure.
To be clear, the motion should include the recommendations, the
Right.
higher of the 2 bids.
The recommendation would be to move forward with the
Thank
highest
you.
responsive bid in the amount of $750.
And we have a time of which it has to be gone and cleaned up and
Contract.
so on and so forth. Okay? Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Those opposed? All right. Guess that gets rid of the firewood. All right, the next is the UCC contract for third-party building code review and inspection services. Eric, you want to?
So
Carry on
one of
that.
the things that my department has been doing is reviewing all of our third-party contracts, making sure that we're getting the highest level of service at the most cost-effective position for the borough. The code services in the borough these are your UCC code services. So this is different than code enforcement. This is related to building permits, building plan reviews, and building inspections. And historically for the borough, that's been done by middle department inspection agencies. That's who's had the contract. It's been sort of an automatically renewing contract. As I came in here, it just kind of kept self-renewing. About 4 or 5 months ago, we gave MBIA notice that we were going to be doing an RFP because our contract did require that we notify them if we were considering to not renew it. So certainly wanting to keep that option open, we notified them. We did put an RFP out on the street asking for different, we actually went out to 6 different companies asking them to submit proposals to do Hanover Borough's building code reviews as well as the inspections. Of those 6, we got back 2. We got back middle department did submit theirs as well as a company known as PMCA, which is actually the company that we already use for our code enforcement, so property maintenance code. Of those two, we've looked through them. I reviewed them with Mr. Miller from my department, who would ultimately manage that contract. It was our recommendation that we would terminate our contract with Middle Department at this point in time, and that we would move forward with Pennsylvania Municipal Code for a period of 2 years and allow them the opportunity to be the borough's UCC reviewer and inspector. One quick note on it is, historically, Middle Department has been the borough's BCO, which is our building code official. With the hire of Mr. Miller, he has assumed that role now, so we do not need the company to be our BCO. We can actually do our own work now, but we are still in need of someone to do the plan reviews and the inspections.
At the end of the day, when we look at this in totality, financially, is this a gain or a loss?
It's about as far as the cost of things, it's about a neutral. It's really not. The rates are pretty consistent between the two of them. The gains that you get from moving, and partly what kind of pushed us to this direction, was two things. One, it offers us a more local presence, so they do have an office in Gettysburg, whereas Middle Department is based down at Camp Hill, so it does create some issues. Now, when we moved to the cloud-based system, we were able to overcome a lot of those issues because now everything was electronically transferred, but we are still seeing some issues in lag between the reviews and things like that. The second of which is the amount of staffing that can be dedicated to the borough. Currently, we are given 2 support staff from Middle Department. With the use of PA Municipal Code, that number would go to somewhere around 7 or 8 that they can have available for us for inspections, plan reviews, and things like that. So certainly from a customer service standpoint, one of the things that appealed to us is that there's an opportunity here to improve the customer experience with permitting and inspections and things like that.
So from a cash standpoint, you're saying it's about a neutral, but it's a gain in customer service / experience?
Gain in customer service, and another reason that it's neutral for us is because all of those costs from third party are passed through. They are passed back to the contractors and the owners and things like that. So,
right, but again, we don't want to be uncompetitive in those fees either. So we remain competitive is the point. Okay.
So your contract also gives you an opportunity to see how they work with you for 2 years before you have to reassess.
Absolutely.
That's a good idea.
We'll reassess.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye. Do we have a motion?
Oh, I guess I need a motion, don't I? Thank you.
I'll formalize the recommendation into
motion. Thank you, sir. And a second?
Second.
All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Brian said yes.
Thank you, Brian. Brian's in a state of what we call latency right now, isn't that? All right. So I guess the motion carries. Thank you. The next is item C, the dedication for the Cherry Tree 4 water system, as recommended by the borough engineer. Accept the deed of dedication. Pardon me.
This one's fairly self-explanatory. Cherry Tree 4 is reaching its finality. It's about done now. Certainly the water system has already been installed. It's been installed for quite some time now. It's up, it's functioning, it's actually providing water to them, but we don't own it. It's still owned by the builder who put it in place. So as is typical with developments, when a development finishes, the developer will typically offer those public improvements to the municipality. So in this particular case, because the streets are not going to be offered to us, those will remain private. We are going to, however, get the water system and the sewer system. So at this point in time, we have a dedication request for the water system, and so that is what is being asked of council, is to accept that offer of dedication.
And everything with the water, and I'm assuming sewer system is part of that discussion?
Correct.
They're all up to whatever standard that we have, and you're satisfied?
When this started to move forward, one of the things that we did was we actually had the Department of Water Resources go out and begin to do punch lists of things. We required as-built, we required updates of all the maintenance bonding and things like that that are associated with the development. There are still some housekeeping things they're working on, and so as I have recommended that it would be conditioned upon the punch list that is provided by the Department of Water Resources to get those things finished.
But according to your professional opinion says we should move forward.
Correct.
Okay. Motion to move forward with that, please.
No motion.
Second?
Second.
All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, sir. Thank you all. And I guess the last is the bond reduction request for Cherry Tree 4. I'm assuming that's related to the water sewer.
In the same development, certainly, as this development has progressed, it progressed in 3 separate phases. And so now what is being asked is, number one, they want to have the bond amount reduced to reflect all of the things that have been constructed to date, which is very normal and customary. And the second thing we're going to do is we're going to stop tracking 3 individual bonds. So we've asked them to consolidate into one single bond that represents Cherry Tree. That administratively will certainly be easier for us to manage, and we are to that point where that's now appropriate. So the ask of you guys is to not only reduce the bond amount, but in doing so that you would consolidate those into a single bond.
Is that going to cost us any money?
It doesn't cost us
It
anything.
costs us any money, should it? Okay, thanks.
What is the amount of the bond that is now and what will be in the future about?
So the bond, the total of the 3 that's out there now currently sits at an amount of $623,997. The ask is to reduce it to a consolidated bond of $347,854.10.
You cut it in half and consolidate them all together.
Basically.
Okay. Can I have a motion to move forward with that, please?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Comments? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. Mr. Maines. Next would be Chief Martin. Eligibility list for police candidates.
Yes,
Sir.
good evening. Just quickly, this is just procedurally following the rules of civil service. The consortium, which consists of 8 other police departments, recently conducted written and oral testing last 2 weekends. We're trying to get ahead of the ball here with civil service. We still have to wait for HAC to do the physical testing. As soon as that's done, we can get, with council's approval and direction, the civil service to meet, certify the list, and then we can begin backgrounds for the hiring process.
I have a question. I did see in the paper where some police department in New York was advertising for police officers with that basic training already, with that training that sometimes we have to pay for.
Yes.
Do we ever advertise, or do you just take the Civil Service Commission list? I mean, couldn't we advertise and see if somebody wants to come here?
Well, so we do have to follow the rules of civil service, and the rules of civil service outline the whole testing procedure. Right now, we participate with the consortium. Civil service could make that a requirement, but
Because we're with a consortium.
right, they could make that a requirement that they are already certified, but we are limiting our pool. So out of the last this last testing cycle, we had a total of 58 people take the test. That's for 9 departments total, and out of those 9 departments, there's probably 8 positions between those departments that they're looking at. So it's going to be tight competition.
Right.
So again, it's something I have considered discussing with civil service, but you're limiting your pool of. So out of those 58, probably only 10 of them are certified. So you'd be looking, instead of say 3, 4, 5 don't pass, you're down to 48, 50. You go from 48 to 50 down to 10. And then with the background investigation,
But my question is, we can't advertise them. I mean, we couldn't just take an ad out in the paper and say we're looking for an experienced
we'd have to
police.
change the civil service would have to change the rules. We could
Oh,
civil service
okay.
would have to change the rules. We'd have to go about the testing ourselves, which would cause there's department personnel would have to pay department personnel to proctor the testing for both the written and oral. So it could be done.
I understand. Thank you.
Yes, it could be.
I'd like to make the motion to direct the Civil Service Commission to create an eligibility list from the January 2022 Metropolitan New York Police Testing Consortium testing list.
That was easy to say. Second, Chris? Any questions, comments? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you, Chad. Okay, next, Governance Committee. Amy?
Hello. So as you're all aware, the last year, we performed the class compensation study through Ed.J. Hess and Associates. You've all received the results of that, and they are available online for the public to view. Using that study, we came up with a pay plan for the future that kind of sets some guidelines for what each position should be paid compared to the market, and kind of lays it out for the future for us. And so this policy was written based on that study. It was approved by our Labor Council. It went to Governance Committee where they blessed it and sent it forward. So it's here for you for your approval.
Okay. The motion,
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
On the study, it does say employees who reach a maximum rate will continue to receive annual pay award increase up to their base salary up to 110% of the maximum. I would assume, I'm making an assumption, though, that's based upon a satisfactory evaluation.
Right.
I mean, if somebody just is here, they would just automatically get that. I'm assuming that then.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
well, to Dr. Upp's point then, which
Thank
is
you.
brilliant, we have that then implemented into this level where this is applicable.
It says it pretty much everywhere else. It does say things about evaluation, Scott. It just doesn't say it in that part. That's all.
Okay.
So, thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. And do we have an overall financial implication of this?
We don't. I mean, at this point, this plan does not call for any adjustments to wages or anything like that. It really sets guidelines for future hires. So if we brought a position to you and said, we'd like to hire such and such position, you'd be able to look to the most recent study and say that, is it reasonable to hire somebody within the certain range that's set by this policy? So it kind of gives you some guidelines for future hires or future position changes, those kind of things.
Okay. Have a motion to approve that, or?
Make a motion to approve that, Chair.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on that item? All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amory. Okay, the next is the Recreation Board composition. We're going to advertise an amendment to the ordinance to increase the membership from 5 to 7. I'm sure that's yours, Nan.
Yes.
Please.
Our ordinance has 5 members listed for the Recreation Board. The state law allows 7. I understand that this was on the Recreation Board's agenda tonight. Mr. Grimm took it to them. It's his feeling that because they're increasing their activity, they're in the middle of this open space and rec plan, which will open the doors to a lot of grants and potentially some playground improvements, which I'm personally very interested in, and that we have a couple of people who are interested in serving but can't because of there's only 5 members allowed. He's recommending, and they discussed it tonight at Recreation Board, that we change our amendment to comply with the state's state law and increase the membership from 5 to 7.
I'm sorry, I have another question. The Borough Code says that you can have up to 9 people.
It's 9.
It says the code, Pennsylvania Borough Code section allows for between 5 and 9.
Okay.
You can have anything up to 9.
Up to 9. I'm sorry, I misspoke. That was my
Oh,
mistake.
no, my question is, why wouldn't you just have 9? I mean, why wouldn't you
And
say,
maybe-
can you let positions be unfilled or not?
I doubt you can get 9.
Oh, I just thought there's.
I was wondering where you're going to get 7 from,
Yeah,
but okay.
there's one person who's especially interested in serving that will be before you soon, so I will,
Okay.
that's why.
All
Hopefully
right.
we can find the 7.
Okay, thanks.
I just hope we're able to
That's
keep
why.
it filled. That raises then the quorum needed to be to 4, right? I did that math in my head. Okay.
That's very good.
That's good.
Shoes off or anything?
No,
You would know if you did.
all right.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Hagberg, can we have a motion on
Got
that?
a motion.
All right, and a second.
Second.
Any other commentary other than my shoes? All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Brian. Those opposed? Motion carries. That makes it 7, correct? All right. Item 10, this is in red. Does that mean we need to stand when we read this, or?
Emergency.
This is an emergency. This came
So it
on later.
appears.
And I'm pinch hitting for Chris Roelke in this case on a technical matter. So let me explain. The regional wastewater facility serves the borough, as you know, and surrounding areas, and it has a lift station at Church Street, which is a critical piece of the infrastructure, and it's in the northern part of the borough and transfers 1 to 3 million gallons of sewage per day to the treatment facility. The surge protector and the main transfer switch located at the lift station require replacement so that it can function, and this is for a number of reasons. One is a safety reason. One is that some of our other equipment is malfunctioning because the surge protector goes on and off and causes damage to the equipment.
So did we get a lightning strike, or is this just the existing thing is failing and we need to replace it?
This is the existing thing that's failing and has been for some time.
Where's Church Street, if I'm embarrassed to ask?
I'm embarrassed to ask.
Where's the police chief? What does he know?
If you go about halfway through McSherry's Town and make a right like you're headed over towards Conawaga, it's Church Street.
Oh, so it's in McSherry's Town.
It's outside.
You go past the
Well, it's cool
church.
that we don't know.
Second Street extended.
That's the reason, Church Street.
Thank you.
And the lack of this piece of equipment can also cause a backup, and that's always, of course, a problem. It's a sole source purchase because it fits with the existing equipment, and that's been reviewed with our solicitor. One thing that I don't see on here, which I personally want to check, is if we have notification requirements to the other municipalities that are partners with us in this regional wastewater facility. So I'm going
So
to.
that CapEx gets allocated out to them according to the agreed upon
It does. We keep a reserve of $100,000. This will actually take half of it, but it gets adjusted every year, as you said.
Okay.
So that has to get checked, but this is an emergency
Well, I think
purchase.
the last thing we want to do is have 1 million gallons of sewage backup a day.
Mr. Vice President, I'd like to make the motion with the note that you had me at 3 million gallons of sewage. Didn't need the rest, but thank you.
Had you.
I read it before I got here. You had
Okay.
it before I even got here.
Yeah, you got me.
You did there, Carol.
We call it something storm.
Chris is doing a great job. He'll be before the
Get a
winter.
motion to move forward?
So moved.
Second.
Chris? Darlene, thank you. Any questions or comments? Rude or not? All right.
I don't want sewer backing up.
All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 11, the reports of the council members, council committees, and the other public bodies, and the library committee report. I guess they're not going to be in person, or they're going to be...
You're the chair.
Sorry?
The library director is on virtual.
Okay. Shanna, you want to go first?
Is she unmuted?
There she is.
Okay. Shannon, anything to add?
No, not really. Just what we discussed at the meeting on Monday was that you folks would kind of take it away.
Okay. I wasn't there, Bill. Chuck, you want to add to that?
I thought it was a very productive meeting. We had a preliminary discussion of the floor plan work that Eric's working on.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen anything, but there's hopefully by February. We discussed legal matters, and we're going to continue to move those forward as well. We had 4 options in the presentation from Shana. The 2 of them were tossed out, basically, and we're moving forward with 2 other options, which would be modifications or study of the modifications of the governance of the library, and the other would be a separate nonprofit. Both are going to be pushed forward. It's in study, and that we are moving forward with getting a consultant to help hash those out. Legally, we need to develop an MOU between the organizations so that there's clarity from the trust, deed, whatever.
What the deliverables are.
Who's doing what, which isn't defined clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Both that and the selected alternative and the study done work in partnership with the consultant would be presented before the Orphans Court in unity as to what we agree to. That's what I pretty much gathered from it all.
Timing, what do you expect, if some 2 or 3 major milestones, what do you expect those to be?
Next month would be the consultant scope and for advertisement. Shana's having it reviewed by her organization, Association of Library, I think it is, to get comments on that and recommendations on who to potentially submit the proposal to help us out on that. Hopefully the floor plan concepts from the architect at that time. And was there one other thing? Is there anything else? I think those 2 items.
I just add, I think the committee was originally and is still on track to deliver to council some recommendations in the June timeframe, but as you just heard, we haven't even hired the consultant yet, so it would be, I think, unfair to put them under that same time constraint when they don't even know they have the job yet. So,
okay, so
but we're not unoptimistic that we can't keep the projected deadline. That's
could we come back with the next meeting of this group 30 days from now with a timeline of the major milestones, what they are, and what the dates will be?
I think getting some in 2 months, because we have
60 days?
We have to find
Okay.
out what the consultant actually says will be
That's
the
fine.
time.
I'd just like to get...
Right. No, I mean, the proposed or conceptual architectural, ability should be in February. And then the advertisement of the scope of services would be in February after we approve it. I would also like to say that it was unanimous in the decision of the 2 alternatives to move forward.
Okay, so in 60 days, 2 meetings from this, we can come back with who, what, and when for the 2 or 3 major deliverables. Just like to get stuff down, with dates and...
We should have some handles, but again, we won't necessarily have a response back from a consultant by that time. Because we're only going to be making finalizing. Dan's going through it, doing the first cut.
Dan Fry. Okay.
And then he'll send it out, and then the rest of us will go through, and then Shana gets it reviewed.
Okay.
And then it'll go out to the selected or recommended individuals for submitting on the proposal.
I'd just like to stay away from they and soon and, those sort
We
of
recognize the June timeline that we're targeting.
Okay. Thank you very much. I guess 12 is the management report. Are there any to add to that? We're already in the minutes. Okay. Correspondence and information. Not really sure what that means, but it
Yeah.
sounds really good when you say it.
If there's letters, we put them in for you.
Okay.
So that you never miss any correspondence to Borough Council.
That would be then additional public comment. I believe that the room's fairly clear. Online, is there any additional public comment? We can open up the... Oh, I'm sorry, Darlene, pardon me.
Just before we close, which I know we're going to do, on that February Borough Council meeting for policy, I think I talked with Dory. Do we have a date for February, Dory?
For the governance meeting?
Yes.
It's not soon here.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
What was your normal meeting date?
February 7th.
Are you Like a certain day of the week, week of the month?
It's February
Mondays.
7th.
We did Mondays.
Your Mondays?
It's February 7th, I'm sorry.
What's the schedule for?
7th.
February 7th.
Okay, thank you.
Dory, you'll send out a meeting
Yes.
gig on that, please?
Yeah, I'll check with the chair as to whether there's, what they would like to do as a work plan this year and recommend some business and see.
What?
Well, in order to get a meeting, we have to have an agenda. So my job would be to see whoever is chair of that committee and.
Which is Barb,
Oh,
correct.
which is Barb, okay. And we will talk about what the projects might be.
That's fine. I just know that we usually have policy every month because we have policies that we have to discuss. And if we do that on February, and even if we don't have a policy, it's going to be much easier to cancel that meeting.
Yeah,
than
it
to
is
go,
advertised.
I really, want it to run more smoothly, being a part of that meeting. And also, if we hold it, Dory, what time? Would it be at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Public comment? If you're joining us via Zoom, you can unmute yourself if you'd like to address council.
Well, I guess that comes to the end of that. If there's no other questions, I'd move for a motion for adjournment.
So motion.
And a second.
Second.
We stand adjourned at 8:25.